This one thing is guaranteed to help you bust through any creative block, and it's not what you think. So this video is just going to be a real quickie to let you in on a little known secret about what you can do to get your creative mojo back online. I mean, we've all been there, right? You're like in your creative flow, you're producing like never before, you feel like you're churning out works of brilliance like some mad genius, and then bam, you lose your creative mojo. Inspiration has left the building and you're left crumpled in a heap on your desk waiting for it to come back. You've hit the dreaded creative block. And what's worse is you start gaslighting yourself. You start saying things like, oh, I should just give up, I've got no talent, I'm a complete failure, and for that matter, I'm actually an idiot for thinking that I could ever create anything worthwhile. Sounds familiar, right? So what do? Do you try and push through? Do you sit there and wait for inspiration to magically reappear? Do you keep pushing and creating more and more stress for yourself? No, I don't do that. This is not a good idea. I mean, as creatives, we so easily get stuck in our heads. You know, thinking, planning, overanalyzing, criticizing, and we forget that our body is our greatest art supply. You know, all the stationery, all the gadgets, all the art supplies, they're all completely useless if we don't look after the thing that we need to actually use those tools. And so, I mean, the one thing that I want you to take away from this video is that when you hit a creative block, the first thing you need to do is walk away from the work and do whatever you can do to get in your body. You need to get out of your head, because essentially what a creative block is it's a mental block. You know, it's where we do start overthinking, we do start overanalyzing, we do start criticizing ourselves to a point where we kind of lose our belief in ourselves, in what we're creating, in our ability to be able to push through, to figure it out, to make it the masterpiece that our mind has decided that it has to be. I mean, this idea that we have to always be productive and that we need to keep working and keep pushing and keep producing no matter what, or we're going to somehow fail at life, is so counterproductive to artistic expression. And it's what's making most of us push ourselves beyond our limits, which is what actually moves us into that state of creative block. And I mean, you want the fastest way to shut down your inspiration? This is it. Come on, I got to do the thing. You need to be here on command. I mean, me personally, the first response I have if someone tells me what to do and when is, don't tell me what to do. And I feel like that's what creativity does when we expect it to show up on command. So just remember that sometimes all it takes is a new perspective to like crack the code and let that inspiration just bubble up from inside of you. And the more you try and get it, the further away you push it. It's just like when you're trying to remember someone's name or a phone number or like some specific thing from a TV show you watched 10 years ago, and you're like, oh, it's right there and I can feel it. And it's like the more you try and grab it, the further away it gets. And then later you'll be doing something completely different and suddenly you're like, it was Rebecca, or whatever it was. It's why people have incredible creative inspirations when they're doing things like, I don't know, having a shower or driving or going for a run. It's when you take the pressure off and you're not trying, suddenly it's like your whole system relaxes, and that's when inspiration goes, here you go. And it can be that simple, but we make it so hard because we want it so bad and we think that we have to try and figure it out. And it's actually the opposite. So I never say that doesn't work. Okay, so this is it. This is the key takeaway from this video. If you take nothing else away from this video, please let it be this. The number one way to move through any creative block and get your creative mojo back is to move your body. Creative block is actually a form of mental block. You know, it's where we've created such a state of stress and anxiety in our heads, and we've lost faith in ourselves, and we've slipped into that space of self-doubt, and we've gone, I can't do this. Oh no, I can't do this, and then it just becomes this negative feedback loop. The number one surefire way to shift out of that is to move your body. And I don't even mean just go and move. I mean go and do something that's so incredibly physically exhausting that you have nothing left in the tank. Go and hike up a mountain, go for a run, lift weights, train jiu-jitsu, which is what I'm always going to say because that's my passion. But when you do something that completely wipes you, it's almost like this energetic reset. Anxiety to me feels like this kind of energy. And when we've got this kind of energy, it creates so much noise that being able to see through that noise isn't possible. But when you clear that and you do something that like physically and mentally completely wipes you out, that's this amazing reset. And then you can come back to things with a fresh perspective. The more we try, the more we grasp, the more we create more of that noise, which means that we can't see through. But when everything's kind of like this, it's like you go, oh, there it is. You don't have to try. It just kind of bubbles up. It's just kind of there. And so this is what I want you to take away from this video. That if you're in a state of creative block, the best thing you can do for yourself is go and push yourself to your physical limits before you come back to the problem. So coming from someone who understands firsthand what it's like to have a mind that likes to criticize, overanalyze, pull apart, and try and perfect every single thing that I create, this is the thing that has made such a difference in my creative process, is I go and do things that push me to my limits. And I think the other benefit of that is that when you go and do something really hard, like really physically hard, that's completely unrelated to your creativity, it's almost like you come back and you're like, oh, I did that really hard thing, so this is a piece of cake. So when you push yourself to your physical limits, you show yourself what you're capable of, and then it's almost like you come back with a deeper level of self-belief that's not necessarily related to your creativity, but it has this beautiful knock-on effect. So that's it. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's probably stuff you've heard before and you already know that this is true. But sometimes we just need that reminder, and sometimes we need a reminder that it can be that simple. So if you're in a space of creative block and you're like trying and it's not working, go and do something completely physically exhausting and let me know how you feel after. Chuck it in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. In case you missed it, go back and check out last week's video where I share some really juicy tips on what it actually takes to create success as a creative. And if you want to connect on social media, you can find me on all the platforms. It's at Lauren Monty Creative, and I will see you in the next video.